Welcome to the Impactful Entrepreneur Show with Adrienne Hill, a place for online business industry expertise and thought leadership, where you can build the skills, structure, and systems you need to thrive in business and have a lasting impact in your industry. Let's do this. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm super excited about this masterclass training. I am here with the one and only Allison Hardy, and Allison is a lead generation and email funnels strategist, and she helps heart-centered coaches create a six-figure passive income stream without being salesy. We don't need any of that. Allison is the creator of the Six Figure Secrets podcast, a Huffington Post contributor. She's been featured in YFS Magazine and was named one of Washington, D.C.'s most influential professionals under 40. By Washington Life magazine. She and her husband here and two kids, 9-year-old Camden and 4-year-old Nora, live right outside of Washington, D.C. in Arlington, Virginia. And she's just an amazing human and a good person. And I can't wait for you guys to meet her. So welcome, Allison. We're super excited to have you here.
Adrienne, thank you so much for having me. It's always lovely to connect with you.
Yes, I always love having a little Allison here in the room. And you guys, anyone who's been hanging around me for a while, you may have noticed Allison and I hang out quite a bit. And there's a reason for that because she's someone you absolutely need to hear from. And today she's talking to us about having a profitable pitch sequence, which is something that I think a lot of us know we need to do. But if we actually opened up our email sequences or text message sequences or whatever they are and went to grade ourselves, we might be like, oh, I need to clean this up. I think a lot of us feel that way. So I love that you're bringing this topic to us because I know you've done a lot of work in your business to streamline and systematize that side of it, and you're wicked good at it.
Yeah, it's been a journey, as entrepreneurship is, it's been a journey. But yeah, it was a huge focus of mine to really kind of life-proof the business after the last couple of years manifested themselves. Because it's going to pop up. Life is going to happen and you need to show up for it. And your business can do that for you. You can have the systems in place to make that happen. And so why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? Exactly. And email marketing is such a fundamental part of running an online business that of all the things to take a minute to just clean up and get it right, your email sequences, your pitch sequences, you have to be there. It's a non-negotiable must-have. So the perfect thing to streamline and systematize in your business. So before we jump into all the good stuff and geek out a little bit, for anyone in the audience who maybe hasn't met you yet and they're just discovering you for the first time, can you tell us just a little bit about your background, your story, and how you found yourself in the place where you are today, where you've kind of streamlined and systematized pitch sequences?
Yeah. So my entrepreneurial journey started when I got laid off when I was 6 months pregnant with my now 9-year-old Camden. I was teaching college level art. I had the fancy job. I had the fancy office. I was set at the age of 28 until I was 65. And that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And in a minute, it was gone. And I, number one, realized how much of my identity was wrapped up in that job. And that was a cringe moment. And then I also came to the conclusion after about a week of crying, which was fine, let myself process and deal. But I realized I never want to put my income, the way I provide for my family, in the hands of anyone else. I had been laid off previously. This wasn't the first layoff. I've been laid off multiple times. And every single time, it's the worst. But every single time, I was no, we're not going to do this again. And I go back into it. No, we're not going to do this again. And I go back into it. And this was it was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I don't know if it was because I was pregnant or it had happened enough that I finally was done. And so I started a personal training business because why not? I would train my friends in my backyard. I moved into the online space. And in those 3 months before I had Camden, I was able to replace my 9-to-5's income, which is great and sounds super sexy. But I did it all at the expense of my health. So I went to preterm labor a couple times because I was working 24/7. I was a hot mess behind the scenes. It was not good. And so when Camden was born, I had really bad postpartum depression. And when you are working around the clock, you have postpartum depression and you have this newborn, and you have no idea what to do with, and you're like, oh my gosh, why doesn't he just sleep? It all came crashing down around me. And that was another big moment where I was this doesn't work. So what do I need to do to replace me in the business? And so that's really where the whole idea of automations and systems and email funnels and automated lead gen really came into the picture. And that's kind of my focus since then.
Yeah. Well, and what I love about your story is that it's so real. I'm sure there's tons of people watching this right now that's oh my God, that's me right now, right? We've all been there. And especially as entrepreneurs, we're definitely different. We are not normal.
Yes.
We're all doing this for a reason, but almost all of us have a tendency to overwork if we don't watch ourselves.
100%. Yes.
And that's part of why I'm so passionate about speaking with people like you about smart ways to streamline and systematize. Because if you're not systematizing and streamlining, you're overworking and you're burning out. Like, it
Yeah.
just is what it is. So it's unfortunate that you had to go through that painful moment, but I think it's part of what has made you so good at what you do, though, too, of like, you've had that hard lesson.
Yeah. And my husband was asking me the other day, I was telling him that I have like these sorts of collaboration events going on. And he was like, "Do you talk about like when you got laid off?" And I was like, "I do. I talk about that a lot because number one, I think a lot of people can relate to the story, like you were saying. But number two, like I'm actually like it still feels weird to say this, but I'm actually like super grateful it happened. Because otherwise, like I would probably be in that, it wasn't a 9 to 5, it was a like 8 to 8, making like 40 grand a year. And like while I was happy doing that, I wouldn't have seen my kids. I would like, I wouldn't be there for drop off, I wouldn't be there for pickup. I would live for the weekends. And like, I don't want that. And so while it sucked at the time, I'm actually like super grateful for it
Yeah.
because I want to be here.
It was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for
And
sure.
it started you on a journey of amazingness. Like, I'm excited that everything has played out so well for you. So let's jump into the topic of, how to have a profitable pitch sequence. So for those watching who are like, what does she mean when she says that? Can you just tell us a
Mhm.
little bit, like, what's the function of a pitch sequence? How do you define that? What does that mean to you? And why is it an important thing to have in your business?
Yeah. So a pitch sequence is a series of emails that get dripped out over a timeline that you set that encourages someone to do the thing that you want them to do. So
Mhm.
like if you have something like a course or a membership, it's usually like buy now.
Yeah.
If you have something like a mastermind or maybe a group coaching program, it's apply now. If you're doing like one-on-one coaching, usually it's book a call and let's talk about it. So the pitch sequence, whatever you're pitching, the function of the pitch sequence is to get them to do the thing that you want them to do,
Mhm.
which is buy, apply, or book a call.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And so it's specifically designed to kind of drip things out to get someone hungry to actually want to take the call to action. Because
Yeah.
I know what I've noticed, and I'm sure a lot of those watching have noticed, people don't book a call just because you tell them to. They
No.
have to want it. People don't
Yeah.
buy just because you say buy now. They have to want it. Like, you have to create that
Mhm.
desire. And it's a little bit of an art and a little bit of a science to do that.
Yeah, there's definitely sales psychology that goes in it. And also, like, really, the function of the pitch, the content that you're going to be relaying inside of the pitch sequence is objection debunking. So, what is the main objection someone could have to enroll in my program? Okay, cool. How can I create an email that's centered around that, that shows them, hey, like, while I get it and I understand, this is actually how this program can help you with this. And
Mhm.
so everything that goes before that pitch sequence is like the information. So here's a quick win. Here's how this client did this inside of this program. I'm going to tell you about here in a little bit. So you're actually kind of, what I would encourage you to do is actually start to seed your program before you actually pitch anyone your program. So that when
Mhm.
that pitch happens, when that pitch sequence starts, it's not like, what is this? They know the name, they know what you do in that side of that program. You've shared a client story with them, help them to see, oh, that person did that. I could probably do that too. And so you've sort of seeded that already and it's already in their brain so that when you get the pitch sequence, they already kind of are sold. So it's
Yeah.
an easier yes or no, I'm in or out.
It doesn't feel like it's coming out of left field. It feels like it's a natural extension of the conversation you've been having.
Yes. And I know for a lot of people, they're really concerned about seeing salesy or inauthentic or slimy. That's how you get out of that. So if you're the way that people perceive sliminess or salesiness is usually because it seems like a bait and switch, right? Whereas if
Mhm.
you're just super upfront from the beginning, hey, in a couple of days, I'm going to share with you more about this program. But for today, like, let's talk about some stuff. It doesn't feel so salesy and slimy anymore.
Yeah. They know it's coming and they can either
Yeah.
tune into it and enroll into it, or they can ignore it if it's not their jam, like whatever.
Right. And that's
Um,
okay.
yeah, but you're getting them hungry for it every little step of the way. So I know you work with lots of clients helping them perfect this process. What are some of the big mistakes that you see over and over again that people make when they're trying to create their own pitch sequences and they're like learning that art and science? What are the big mistakes you see commonly?
I love this. So on my Instagram account, I do a series called Fatal Funnel Flaws. And so it's like part one, part two, part three, and I talk about this over there. So Oh gosh, there's so many things that people do inside of pitch sequences that just kill their sales. So number one, there's too many calls to action. There's check out the program. There's, oh wait, if you don't want to check out the program, hey, book a call instead. Or you know what? Let's go to this podcast episode because I talk about the program inside of this podcast episode. The confused mind isn't going to do. It's going to freeze and it's going to be like, I don't know what you want me to do. You're the expert in the room. So you need to tell the person who's reading this email the one thing that they need to do. And I know we do that a lot. We have these multiple calls to actions with the intention of serving people. Okay, I want to make sure that you actually understand what this program is. And okay, if you don't want to buy, like, let's get on the call and talk about it. No, like it's too much. And think about it like this too. If your lead, the person inside of your funnel, is looking to you to help them to solve a pain point, that's hard work for them. Regardless if it if you think it's hard or not, it's still hard work for them. So the minute you make the pitch sequence, or really any sequence, seem hard, they're going to be like, okay, if this is hard, like the program's going to be even harder. So making it easy for them to understand this is what she wants me to do. And that's like the key, I think.
Yeah. So like if you have 5 different potential calls to action, make it 5 different emails. Don't try to cram them all into one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Totally.
Something else that people do is it's too long. So people need to make a decision. Like there's no point in extending your pitch sequence out to be weeks and weeks long. That's exhausting and your lead is going to lose interest. So shorten that pitch sequence. So if you have a course or membership that's like under $500, I would encourage you, make it like a 3-day pitch sequence. I know that doesn't seem like a lot of time, but for someone who wants results and is seeking out the solution to their pain point, they usually just need to know, like, this is what I have to offer you, take it or leave it. And they don't need this big, long pitch sequence that just goes on and on and on forever. So shorten the pitch sequence. Whatever you think it should be, probably like cut it in half. And that's how much it should be.
Yeah, which I love because writing a pitch sequence can take time. I mean, and you have to put real thought into it. And each email, you have to be really thoughtful. And so, hey, everyone, we just got permission to cut our work in half. Like, and by the way, it's going to convert better. Like that is not a bad.
Yes.
I love that.
And let's go over a third fatal funnel flaw. So the third thing I see is that you aren't sending emails frequently enough. And so I just shared this actually today. It's kind of funny that this went live today. I shared a funnel trend report this morning inside of my membership. And so we had this client and she wanted to increase conversions inside of her funnel. She didn't have more money to spend on Meta ads or Facebook and Instagram ads. And so she's like, okay, I want to, we're converting at 9%. That's good. I want to convert higher. And I was like, well, just send more leads through the funnel. That's like the most obvious way to do that. And she was like, I don't have any more cash. So I was like, okay, what can we do? So we sent more emails. She had a 5-day open cart period. And originally she was just emailing once a day. And that worked for her. I got the job done. 9% conversion rate was pretty good for her price point and her offer. We increased it to 15% by sending 2 emails on day number 1 and 2, 3 emails on day number 3, 2 emails on day number 4. And I think it was 3 emails or maybe 4 emails. Either way, 3 or 4 emails on day number 5. So we increased the amount of emails that we sent out. We shortened the frequency and it went from a 9% conversion rate to a 15% conversion rate. We didn't change anything else. We kept the original emails there and we just added more in. So don't be afraid to continually and often and frequently and daily, if not multiple times a day, share the invitation for someone to work with you through your program. That was
totally
a really
makes
profound.
Sometimes they miss the first email and they catch the second one. Or,
yes.
Like not everyone's like obsessively refreshing their email inbox. So like, they're just more likely to catch your communication when you're doing that. And how nice for her to go from 9 to 15. I'm sure she was doing a happy dance.
I was so happy to hear it too, because she's getting like $4 a lead. So she's spending around $400 to get like 100 people in. So that's a good chunk of change for her. But then when she went from that 6%, she upped it to 6%. She upped the conversion rate by 6%. It made that cash flow come in faster and she was able to spend more money on ads and it just all, compound the fact. And
now she's getting 15 sales out of every group of 100 coming through. Like that's a nice bump for sure.
Yeah.
Especially on $4 leads. Like, oh my gosh, that's smart. Yeah.
I know. She's so good at her marketing.
I love it. I love it. So we've covered some of the mistakes. So that's good. So now we're all moving in the right direction. So what are, the 7 emails that every pitch sequence should have? Like, what's the fundamentals that we got to make sure we do have in this sequence?
Yeah. So your pitch sequence, I have to disclaimer this, may have more than 7 emails. That's great. And that's awesome. But I want you to make sure that you have at least one of these types of emails in your pitch sequence.
Okay.
So I needed to say that first because I think people get when I say like, you only need 7 emails, like you do, but like you don't also, you probably need more. So the first type of email you need is that open cart email, like, hey, program's open. Here are the deliverables. Here's your offer. Here's your timeline. Bye.
Like cut to the
Super
chase,
simple.
tell them what it is. Yeah.
Right. Nuts and bolts email. The second one is that frequently asked questions. So here are some questions I've been getting inside of my inbox since I opened up the doors. What frequently asked questions are is their objections. So anytime someone has a question, even if it's like, how much is the program? I would argue that person's probably concerned about money. So if your program helps them to make more money, it's a great way to address that. If they're like, how much time should I expect to spend every week doing this work? They're concerned about time. So how do you have features or deliverables inside of the program that helps them to not spend as much time? So everything always goes back to your program, right? So any objection, the solution is always the program. So how can you portray that?
Yeah.
The third email is an engagement email. And this is the email that's like, hey, name of person. I saw you've checked out the sales page for name of program, but you haven't enrolled yet. Do you have questions? Hit reply and let me know. Super simple. It looks like a Gmail email, like really, really simple. Yeah. I get tons and tons of responses whenever I send that out. That email last year, that singular email was responsible for selling $80,000 worth of my courses and memberships. Just that email, because it makes you a normal person. Like,
and it opens the door to a conversation. Like,
right. The more conversations you can have, the more likely someone is to buy. So those were the first 3. We have the pain point email. So the one that's like, hey, I know this is what you're experiencing. I can help you through this program. And while we don't love to hit on pain points, like it can be uncomfortable for a lot of us, you've got to hit on it. You have to help them to understand, like, yes, I get you. I understand what you're experiencing. I can actually help you. And so maybe that's sharing your story. Maybe that's sharing a little bit of a client story, but it's helping them to understand, like, she gets it. She's on the same track. She can actually help you.
I know tons of people are afraid to dig into the pain points because they feel like they're being mean, but honestly, it's an act of kindness, because if you don't, that person's going to sit in that place of struggle for months or years. And that's worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's worse than
and
reading
also,
one
like,
email that makes them go, oh yeah, that's like, I'm feeling that pain, right? Like, so it's an act of kindness in my mind.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also, like, the more, successful you get, your success is evident sometimes, right? So people look to you as an expert. People can feel like you are getting like farther away from them, right? Like gap between them and you is getting bigger. So that pain point email helps you to reduce that gap and be like, hey, I do actually understand you. So it just helps you to relate and be a real person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we have open cart, frequently asked questions, engagement, pain point. The next 2 are stories. So one is a client story and one is your story. So here's your client. They were experiencing this. Your program came along, helped them to get rid of that. This is what they saw. This was their transformation. Even if your leads can't 100% see themselves as that client, they can relate to parts of that story. If you have the right people in your network, right? You're pitching to the right people. There's a part of that story they can pull out and be like, ooh, that's me. I get it. So it just helps them to envision themselves as your client, which is a really powerful sales tool. And the second story is your story. So who are you? Why do you do this work? Why is this important? What was your experience in doing this work? How did you become the expert? And why did you become the expert? When you can share your story, it helps them to understand, again, she actually does get it. She understands where I'm at. She was me at one point. She did this work. It's possible for me. And when you can get that it's possible for me going, that again is a really powerful sales tool.
Yeah. Helps them believe in themselves. I mean, sometimes believing in yourself is half the battle.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was 6. The last one is that like pleasure point aspirational email. This is always the one I like to send at the very last minute. So 3 hours left for you to enroll. Let's talk about what's possible for you. So this speaks to those people like at Enneagram 7s who are like super positive all the time and really upbeat and everything's going to be awesome. This is like meant for them. So this is the like transformation. This is what you're going to do in this program. This is what you're going to experience. Let's do this. Let's go. Yay. Woohoo. Like that email. That's the last one.
Getting them excited, getting them like feeling a little FOMO. Like, I don't want to miss out on all this greatness. Let's go.
Exactly. Yes. And what I find is those people who comment on that email, they're the ones who like, they buy, they get the confirmation email, they get the login link, they like log in and they start to consume like right there and then. They're the ones that are like super, super hungry because they know they waited until the last minute to buy. So they're like, let's get going. Like they're really, really motivated. So they're just
long enough. No more waiting.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just a different type of client, which is kind of cool. So yeah, those are the 7 emails every single pitch sequence needs.
Now let's be honest. How many of you watching are like, I want to keep Alice in my back pocket at all times and just pull her out anytime I'm working on emails and be like, Allison, what was number 5 again? Right? Like, be honest, you're totally thinking that right now. We all know it. We all know it. I know that, of course, you've taught tons of people how to set up these pitch sequences and these emails, avoid the mistakes, follow the framework that works. Do you have some examples of client results or stories you'd love to share of like what happened when people started implementing these things?
Yeah, I had a client. She had I'm trying to think what program this was for. This was for a course that was around $1,000. I think that was the offer inside the funnel. I think her program was actually $2,000, but she cut it in half for the funnel. Mm-hmm. So her and I got to work on her sequence. And she was doing those fatal funnel flaws we talked about in the beginning. So her pitch sequence was really long. She wasn't emailing super frequently. Her calls to action were kind of a little wonky. And her pitch sequence didn't make sense. Like the flow of emails, they were very disjointed from one another. And they didn't even feel like, honestly, that they were really like from the same person almost. They seemed very different. They had different styles, we'll say that. And so we were able to tweak it. We shortened everything. We added more emails in there. And she was able to, she ran it on autopilot. She didn't do like a live launch. It was all passive. And she was able to hit 100K in sales in I think like 180 days. Yeah. It was a really short amount of time. She went like, so full disclosure, she went all in. Like this was like her main focus for like 2 months. And then she spent some money on that ads to like get people through the funnel. But because of that work, she was able to see those results. And that was really cool to witness and like be a part of because, you know, at first it was a little messy. Like at first it was like, okay, like this maybe like a funnel that has some leaks in it, but we were able to tighten it up. And leading into the data was really key there and helping us to figure out like what needed to happen and how it needed to happen. So that was really exciting.
Yeah. I mean, and who doesn't want a result like that, you know, like, and it was just cleaning up the email sequence, honestly, like she didn't change her offer, right?
No, her offer was solid.
It was solid. It was really just the communications around it.
Yeah. It was how can we more appropriately relay to these folks who need this program that they need this program. And when you can come at it from that perspective, I think it makes it a lot easier. And I think like, I do have to say this, I think we often overcomplicate pitch sequences. It's just an invitation, right? It's just an invitation to transform whatever thing it is that you want to transform. So when we can think about it like that, I think it really helps us to wrap our head around like what actually needs to happen instead of like, oh, I just need to do this and this and this. It's like, oh no, this, like, here it is. We know exactly what it is.
Yeah. And sometimes it's the fundamentals that if you just focus on cleaning up your fundamentals, that has the biggest impact on your business. It's not the fancy new strategy and the shiny object. It's like, girl, clean up your emails.
Yeah.
Like,
it can be as simple as that, right? It's allowed, we're allowed to do that. It can be easy if that's what we want.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful tool that we often forget about.
Yeah. And it's like, if you're going to do it well. Now, I know you have a free gift. I'm sure people, when they heard that you made $80,000 from one email, they were like, the what now? Say again. And I know that you have a free gift for anyone who is listening to that and thinking like, okay, I need that. I know your gift can help them to do exactly that. You want to tell us about your free gift?
Yeah, it's a template of that email. Super simple. The $80,000 email. So I give you what the email looked like from my business. So my wording and all of that. But then I took it and templated it for you. It's super easy. Really, like you can implement it in like 10 minutes. It's color coded. So you can go in and like plug in your stuff. get it sent out, add it to your pitch sequence, and see some results from it.
Yeah. So kind of like a Mad Lib, you just fill in the blanks as it makes sense, and then plug and play and see what it does in your own email sequence.
Absolutely. Mad Libs for email marketing.
Yes. I mean, it's kind of the way to go, right? It's like you might have a totally different business type than Allison, but it's the strategy of the email that makes it work. And if you fill it in the right way, it can totally work for you too. In fact, I mean,
Absolutely.
I'll be honest, I'm going to scoop that bad boy up. Like, why wouldn't I? I want it too.
Everyone should.
I love that. I love that.
You've been listening to the Impactful Entrepreneurs Show with Adrienne Hill, where we support coaches, course creators, and network and affiliate marketers to translate their big picture vision into actionable plans to build out their business efficiently. If you love our show, we invite you to visit buildalifebydesign.com to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover more helpful resources. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share. Thank you for listening.